it's Eric on the bike on February 24th. Now what that means before I get into this edition of PBP Tips is that today is the day I'll be on a computer pre-registering for PBP. Pre-registration opens up at 12:01 a.m. on the 25th, but that's Paris time, and that'll be 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the 24th here, because we're 9 hours behind them, 8 hours, whatever. So, the topic for today's PBP Tips is some things that you would not normally expect, or that you might be surprised by when you go over to France. Now, the first thing you may not expect is that PBP is not the France of Paris and wine country. Not at all. PBP takes place for the most part. Now, it starts obviously on the outskirts of Paris, but you head west, and very quickly you get out in the country, and a good part of the ride takes place in Brittany. Now, Brittany is beautiful, and it's certainly well worth the trip to go out and see. It's dotted with little tiny villages. In fact, one of the jokes about the ride is that the route is really go to the church at the top of the hill and turn left, because you'll be doing a lot of that. But it is not the France of Paris. It's not the France of wine country. It's a very much working place, agricultural area, where you're a lot more likely to see cornfields and maybe pigs and cows than you are wine grapes. In fact, I can't remember seeing any vineyards anywhere along the route. It's really the wrong country. The temperatures aren't right and so on to grow grapes. So it's a very nice part of France, a very different part. It's the part where, different from Paris. This is the part of the country, if you've been watching the Gilets jaunes protest over there, this is the part of France where the people who feel they've been left behind by France's economic success all live. So, nice people, nice area, but if you're going over there thinking this is going to be Paris and the Champs-Élysées, a little bit of a surprise coming. Second thing you may be surprised by, and this is not only out on the course, but really almost everywhere, is how difficult it is to find places to buy things. The French people just view shopping differently than us. Now, if you go into Paris, you will find lots of shops, lots of stuff open all the time, but as you go out from Paris, very quickly you're back into a more traditional way of buying things. Now what that means, and I've noted this in other editions of the video, if you're out on the course and you see a shop and you're thinking, boy, I'd really like, a Coke or something, pull over and buy it, because shops like that are actually open are relatively few and far between. The French word for Friday, vendredi, is translates sort of into the day when you buy things. Vendre is to sell. So that's the day, historically, when everybody in France would go buy things. In fact, even in some of the larger cities, certainly in Saint-Quentin, on a Sunday, everything shuts down. In the entire country, it's really kind of funny. And a related topic I mentioned in a prior video is the bakeries. The boulangers, the patisseries. They generally, in France, will make as much bread as they historically know or pastries or whatever that they're going to need for a day. And they sell that and they close down. So they tend to get surprised, I think, by all the riders coming through on PBP when they open up in the morning, and they sell out pretty quickly. So again, if you see a bakery or a pastry shop and you want to buy something, if it's open, just stop in, buy it, and get back on your way. And you'll find, I think, that the people inside, if there are other locals there, are very nice. They know that you're on the ride, and they will generally let you go ahead of them in line to get out of there a little faster. So another thing you might not expect is that you will get bored. There are parts of PBP, at least for me, that are very, very boring. Particularly the nighttime sections, because you can't really see what's happening around you, so there's nothing really to keep your interest up. But just in general, I mentioned all the nice little French villages. You'll find, after you've been through a bunch of them, that they all tend to kind of blend together. Now here's a little piece of video of me taken by Damon Peacock, who made a film about PBP last time, where I'm talking about PBP and this very aspect of kind of the boring nature of it.
Saying that most people from Paris have probably never been out to this part of the course. They may know something about it. They may know Fougères because of the castle and the history, but probably never been to any of these places.
There are so many places like this in France. It's just like a web, if you look at the map.
Right.
It's amazing.
You get the sense that they're all very much alike. I'm sure it's like penguins. I mean, penguins can tell themselves apart. But after a while, all the little tiny villages really start looking the same. I'm sure they're all different in some way, but that's just interesting to see so many little tiny places like that.
It can be boring, and just one of the mental rather than physical challenges that you'll overcome on your way to finishing. Another thing that may surprise you, coffee in bowls. Yeah, it's a French thing. Not so much in Paris, although I've heard of it there. But certainly out in the countryside, you'll go to a control and order a coffee, and they'll give it to you in a bowl. That's a French thing. That's how they do it, mostly in the rural areas. Don't know why. It's a little hard to carry. It tends to slosh all around when you're carrying your tray back and forth, but that's what it is. If they give it to you in a bowl, it's not because they ran out of cups. It's because that's how they do it. One very pleasant surprise that I think you'll find over there, and I've mentioned this before in one of my prior videos, is that the French drivers are very, very good, and they are very, very polite and courteous to cyclists. They know how to pass a cyclist. It's not the kind of, gun your engine Indy 500 thing that you see over here in the US. They don't honk at you because you're going too slow. They're very courteous, very nice. They know how to drive. They know how to pass you. Even the trucks, even the big rig trucks. I've never, ever felt unsafe on a road in France due to something that a motorist was doing. They're very good, and I think you'll find that to be a very pleasant surprise as you're out there on the ride. Another pleasant surprise over in France, and I've mentioned this in a prior video, is the condition of the roads. The French roads out in the country are very, very nice. They're like glass smooth for the most part, like just huge paved bike paths. So for instance, right now I'm riding in Sacramento through a residential district, and the road here has, kind of the normal amount of patches and places where they've come in to do something. You don't see this out in France. unless you're in the bigger cities. When you're passing through some of the larger towns on the route, you'll see a more normal kind of road surface. But for those of us in the US anyway, I think you'll find most of the roads out in the countryside are just wonderful. You can actually ride a little bit faster because you're on such smooth roads. And in terms of just debris on the roads, I've only gotten 2 flats in my entire time of doing PBP. So that's 3,600 kilometers with only 2 flats. And at least one of those was caused by a little tiny shard of flint or rock. So it wasn't even glass. So I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised by the roads over in France. The last thing I think I'll mention, and it's actually, again, a nice surprise that you'll find when you're over there on the course, is just how wonderful the people of France are and how willing they are to help you with food or drink or encouragement, whatever it takes to help you finish the ride. They really are great, and it's one of those things, and I've said this many times, that makes PBP the event that it is. More than the course, more than anything else, is just the people of France and their sense of the history of the ride and their love for the event. So I hope this was interesting, and I will post some more things as they come to mind in future editions of PBP Tips. So if you like this series, go ahead and subscribe. You'll be notified when new videos are posted. There are definitely many more to come. If you like this video, hit the like button, and if you've been to PBP and there are other things that you found interesting that perhaps I missed in this video, go ahead and put those down in the comment section below, and feel free to ask questions, make suggestions about things I can cover in future editions. Thanks again for watching. I will see you on the road next time. Bye.